write comedy?
I think you start off with a real thing, hopefully, a real intimate, often serious thing. You shouldn't at all be afraid of talking about the Iraq War or cancer or anything. Anything really is up for grabs. I think kicking people who are weak is probably not up for grabs. I don't think that's funny. I think there's a lot of comedy on American movies where you see the fat person is so unattractive, it's hilarious that they even want to get a date. That's hilarious. Well, that's just taking somebody who's got a quite already weakened position in society and giving them an extra kick. It's boring, it's not funny. But I think everything else is up for grabs. Everything else is up for grabs, from the most trivial to the most serious. But it's going to be funnier if it's real and if your observation is accurate and interesting. That's what you start with. You start with that. And then I had a sense the other day that this is quite a boring example in a way, I suppose, and a very middle-aged person's example, but you have the sense sometimes when you're running a household that everything's falling apart all the time, that every time you just buy a new fridge and get it installed and pay the $1,000, the washing machine goes, and then you turn around and something else is broken. So you might start with something like that idea. Every time we get going in this household, another thing happens. And so we're constantly fighting our own. Now that's real, and it's a real feeling I had. So how do you turn that into something funny? Well, I think you just exaggerate it a little bit. You play with the idea that the machines almost seem to know that the last one has gone bung and now it's their turn, so they're conspiring against you. So this is becoming slightly funny already, isn't it? The idea that they've got thinking brains and the washing machine's talking to the fridge, and all the new fridges have got internet access, haven't they? There's these new fridges where they sort of can buy supermarket food that you've run out of and things. So that's an interesting idea. And so maybe the fridge is starting to ring up your bank account to find out when your bank account's starting to build up a bit so it goes bung. You could bring the computer in, couldn't you? And they're incredibly frustrating. I think no one seems to understand computers, even the people who think they understand computers. So you just build it up. And as I said earlier, you then just work it up and up and up and see how, from that truth, that little tiny truth, everything keeps on going wrong in a household, and you always feel as if you're, behind the eight ball. Start off with that truth and then just build it wilder and wilder and wilder until you've got all these machines conspiring against this poor householder, and then use a narrative, hopefully, to build it and build it and build it so there's a story in there and he or she is rushing around. And so there's one example, I suppose, of how you could do it.
Do your family still speak to you after they see the way that you've represented them in your writing?
Yeah, well, they do. As I say, I think the great thing about humour writing in particular, but look, I think a lot of writing benefits really from using real life. Even if you're writing a genre like science fiction, I think it's great to somehow let it be informed by reality. Otherwise, writing ends up being about other writing, and it's much better to try to get humanity fresh off the block in a way. And that's so you observe things that are closest to you. So obviously your school, your mates, your friends. In my case, I write a lot about my family. There's some privacy issues there, I think, when you're writing about people close to you. But I think most of the time, you're not actually wanting to use their essence or their soul, especially in humour writing. What I'm interested in with my kids is the points at which they chime with everybody else, at which they're the same as everybody else, because that's what's going to be funny, is because everybody's been through teaching their 16-year-old to drive. So there's nothing particular about Joe. I'm not revealing any intimate secrets about him to say that he's in the car, he's kangaroo hopping, I'm shouting at him. What's funny is that I'm choosing things which are shared by nearly everybody. And so, they're not offended. They're not offended. And I give them $1 every time they get mentioned. So big bucks.